Hey, Terry Van over here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our healing abandonment so that you can feel at peace after divorce class. I'm so glad to have you here. Beautiful day. And I have so much to share with you. And we're going to start out with just taking a couple of nice, deep belly breaths. Now, I want you to just to inhale down through your diaphragm. Hold that for a few seconds and exhale through your mouth. Inhale. And one more. This is just to get us nice and grounded. And if you want to just keep your eyes shut for just a moment more, we're just going to come into this place together. We're just going to imagine ourselves becoming more relaxed, more present. Any worries, any fears, any thoughts are just coming and going. Any to-do list, just let those go because today we're right here, we're present, we're focused. And as you're breathing, just imagine your body getting more relaxed, more open with each exhale. And I want you to become more present. I want you just to open up your heart, open up your ears. Just be open and present with us today. And know that whatever message you're intended to receive, you will receive. And know that I am here for you. And when you're nice and comfortable and you've let all those thoughts just come and go, come back with us. And when you're ready, I'm going to share our screen and we're going to get right into it. I'm so excited. This is so exciting. I love talking about this. I love sharing about this. So let's get right into it. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. Maybe if technology will work. So why am I doing this? So listen, I've been through a horrendous divorce myself, and my unhealed childhood, abandonment and trauma contributed to, difficult relationship and my divorce. But it was also realizing that became the start of my own journey to healing. And so now I'm on a mission to give others like you the keys how to heal that unresolved childhood abandonment wound, those traumas, and help you to create amazing new relationships going forward, starting with yourself. You can transform your life. And then at the end, I'll share how we can work further together at the end of this workshop. So let's rock it. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Maybe my screen doesn't want to go. We're going to get it going. All right. Who am I? If you've not heard my Southern accent, there it is. I can hear it right now. It's coming out there. I grew up just a poor little country girl in rural Virginia, and my mom was a single mom, two little girls. She was divorced when I was 3, 4, I don't even remember. And my biological father was probably what we call today a functioning alcoholic. And after their divorce, that's pretty much the end of seeing him, except for just a few handfuls of times. And what visits we did have were pretty negative. He said some pretty not so nice things, probably that a father shouldn't say to a daughter. And my childhood was pretty chaotic. We were very poor, uh, didn't have the necessary kind of things that we needed. It was very chaotic. It's a lot of disruption in my life. Um, I was sexually abused when I was 6 years old by a family member. And I think all this chaos and lack of kind of getting my own emotional needs met and having a father who pretty much abandoned me and all of that led to me growing up as an adult woman who, on the outside, I was a high achieving professional, no doubt. Did excellent in school, did excellent at work, right? But my intimate relationships were a hot mess. And I was, married with two small children and kind of repeating that generational cycle that my mom repeated, divorced. And it was because really I have to take ownership. I was needy, I was controlling, I was chronically lonely, I was insecure. Again, this is all behind doors. You wouldn't have known it looking at me. My friends would have never guessed. And it led to a divorce, and our divorce was horrendous. We had the typical chaotic, contentious, nasty, nasty, nasty divorce. And not only was I going through a divorce, within a few months of a cycle, I lost my mom, I became homeless, I lost all my financial standing, I was hit by a van and had to endure several surgeries. So my health was, shit. And so it just, like, one thing after the other, my life just kept, falling, crumbling apart. And I have to say, though, that was kind of my awakening, so to speak. And I came through it, though. And I'm glad to say that I put my life together, travel all over the world, speaking, giving conferences, giving presentations, TV shows, podcasts. And I love sending this message of healing and hope, and also that divorce doesn't have to be contentious and nasty. I want to help people avoid the mistakes that I made that left me devastated, and that leave so many people devastated during and after divorce. You don't have to have years and years rebuilding your life. There's hope, and there's a way to do it better. So the good news is, like I said, I've written two women's empowerment books. I've spoke all over the country, met amazing, amazing people. But what I'm most proud of, honestly, is the way I have been able to put my personal life back together. I'm remarried to a sexy New York Italian. So our kids get to make fun of both of our accents, y'all. And we've expanded our family. I thought having more children was out of the picture after divorce, and I've got another little girl. And here's the miracle, though. My ex and I have, like, rebuilt our co-parenting relationship, and we're friends. We hang out. That's our birthday. We celebrate birthdays together. There's his wife, who's my best friend. She's sending me some makeup today. I mean, this is the necklace she gave me, the infinity ring. I mean, we just are close. And listen, I'm not any different than anyone else, but I believe that if you know some of your own triggers, and some of your own, faults and flaws and things that are going to trip you up, you can, if you know that and you know how to heal that, and you know how to have the right tools and skills, you can rebuild your co-parenting relationship with your ex and have a respectful. Not everyone is going to have a close relationship like we do. I get that. I get boundaries are important, but I'm definitely so sure that there are some things that you can do to make it better, to make it more constructive, to make it more respectful. So let's talk about, maybe you're like me and your childhood issues manifest in your intimate relationships. Most people don't even know they have abandonment wounds, but you probably do, because 99% of the people that I talk to really do. Because even if you had a two-parent home, chances are that, your emotional needs did not get met. And what we do as adults, we try to fill that void that we didn't get from our parents with our intimate partner. So if you are very successful, high achieving professionally, academically, in all areas of your life except your intimate relationships, that's a good sign that you've got some work to do. If you feel unworthy, insecure, and not good enough deep down, if you're lonely constantly, if you're anxious, if you struggle with anxiety, That's a big sign. If you are controlling, because the control is really just a manifestation of like trying to stay out of anxiety, right? So, and maybe you're insecure, or maybe you tend to be jealous. A lot of the women that I work with, actually, and I'll say men, actually, the men, I call them my nice guys. We don't want to be a nice guy. We don't want to be a people pleaser, right? We want to be a good guy. Now, the nice guy is a people pleaser, puts other people's needs before his own, and ends up, being codependent in relationships. And we don't want that. We want you to have more peace and confidence and energy and just feel content where you are, with who you are, in all areas of your life. So here's the thing, healing's a process, but what I think that traditional talk therapy has left out, it hasn't addressed the full picture. You have to have a systematic, multifaceted approach to healing. And that's where the true transformation is going to take place for you. Okay. And I'm going to explain that in this class today. I'm going to explain that, kind of the process, and why you feel the way you feel and what to do about it. I call it the 4-layer process. It's about soothing that parasympathetic nervous system, using conscious intentional exercises to release the anxiety and to address the underlying emotional issues that have not been healed, and using body work and breath work and mindfulness, plus journaling, um, uh, real strategic, intentional exercises and strategies to really get your life moving in the right direction. So, if you are chronically lonely and you feel that you're not good enough, no matter if you're with someone, you're with your partner, and you're constantly lonely, this is the indication that you need to heal. Those negative judgments about yourself, those negative emotions that seem to surface, it's there to teach you something. So if you're chronically lonely, the 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 real the true fact is that you really don't love yourself. It doesn't matter if you're in a sea full of people and you're still lonely. You still feel that, like, I don't belong. I'm not accepted. Who am I? If you have that chronic loneliness, no matter what, the key is that you really deep down don't love yourself. And so you're looking for external solutions to an internal problem, and that will never work. And as I told you, my loneliness was the start of my journey. When I was separated and I was homeless, I was staying with this friend of a friend of a friend who lovingly and kindly took me into her home. And I just was so lonely. I would just hold my babies at night in our bed, just crying myself to sleep. I had two little ones, a 4 and a 2-year-old, I think, at the time, and just crying myself to sleep. And I will tell you, I'm going to be honest here, I really desperately wanted to go out. I'm okay looking. I'm okay looking. I knew that. And I wanted to go out, wanted to go and meet new men and make myself feel better, and have men tell me, you're so pretty, you're really great, you're really this, you're really that, all those good things that I was just longing desperately to hear. But that was really my wake up call for myself, because I recognized during the separation that, girl, you were lonely during the marriage. You felt this way during the marriage. You needed constant reassurance. You wanted always someone to tell you how beautiful you were, how loved you are, how needed you are. Like, I couldn't get enough of that, no matter what, right? And so it kind of clicked in my head that this isn't this is about you. Something's going on with you. And so for me, my loneliness was really, for me, and I call it consciously surrendered to that loneliness. And that was like the wake up call. That was the healing call for me. And in that kind of mindfulness state that I was in, where I didn't distract myself from the loneliness by going and getting attention from men and just sitting in that loneliness night after night and night, the light bulb went off for me, as like, girl, you want men's attention because your own father, you feel like your own father didn't love you. So you're looking for that father figure to make you feel valued and worthy. So abandonment shows up in ways that we're really, really not aware of. So the reason you're chronically lonely is because your abandonment has left you with underlying feelings of like you're not lovable. That's the message that was replaying in my head, or you're not worthy, or you don't matter. For different clients, it's slightly different voices in their head, but that's really the fundamental feeling of loneliness, is that you're not worthy and you're not lovable. So a lot of people think that abandonment is like me, where you have my father in the early days. I'm sure I don't even remember much, right before I was 4 years old, but I can tell you, I know that that time in my childhood was pretty chaotic and unstable, and I'm sure pretty contentious between my mom and my dad. And so those kinds of abandonment wounds lead us into our adulthood. And so we might have a dysfunctional relationship with others because of the childhood wounds that we're going through before. So it can be a parent who had conditional love for you. Maybe your parent, maybe you had a two-parent home. You know, telling you 50% of my clients do have a two-parent home, and they argue with me like I don't have abandonment wounds. And then when we dig deeper and we start to notice how their parents' love was based on conditions, or they had to earn their parents' love, or their parents had really unrealistic perfectionist expectations of their child. And again, having a chaotic, unstable um, childhood, that also can lead to those feelings of unworthiness, of I'm not safe, I'm not lovable, I'm not secure here. For Nikki, she's another client, and her loneliness manifested in her way of like she came to me when she was married. Guess what? She's still married. She's still happily married. She came to me when her marriage was, in the dumps, and we worked through her abandonment wounds. And the thing was, she grew up neglected, and her voice in her head is like, I don't matter, I'm invisible. And you know how that manifested in her own marriage? She wanted her husband, she called it her love language. My love language is quality time. And like my love language was words of affirmation. And ask yourself, is it enough quality time? Is it enough words of affirmation? When is it ever enough? Because that's what she was struggling with. Her husband needed to go out with his friends. He was a social guy and he worked long hours. And so they struggled in their marriage. And what was really going on is she needed to heal that underlying abandonment wound from her parents, from feeling neglected, and she was invisible and she didn't matter. And once she filled that void within her, she and her husband could then have a fulfilling relationship that met both of their needs. And that's really the key. So let's say you second guess yourself and you don't. So let's say you don't have healthy boundaries. You're a people pleaser. You're full of resentment and anger. It's really hard when you are constantly second guessing yourself and you don't feel like you're good enough, right? Or maybe you feel like you're a failure. You feel like everything's your fault. You feel like you're not good enough. So you're constantly trying to please others or trying to always outdo yourself. If you constantly feel anxious, like, did I do that right? Did I do that right? You have perfectionist tendencies, and you can't just let things go. The thing is, you don't know how to trust yourself. And the thing is, if that's the case, if you're one of these like exhausted from overthinking people, you are more susceptible to toxic relationships and toxic people, where you will settle for less, both personally and professionally. I see a lot of people pleasers don't really achieve what they could in their professional lives as well as their personal lives. Their marriages are a hot mess. They date really toxic people who take advantage of them. And then even at work, they don't really feel that they're worth more than that to get out of a situation where they're treated poorly. So And the thing is, the longer you're in these situations, the more toll it takes on you emotionally, physically, and financially. So I mean, I really just cannot say this enough, that you finding your worth and finding your confidence and feeling secure in yourself and accepting yourself is the key to changing your life and being happy in all areas of your life. So the reason why you second guess yourself, again, you you have abandonment wounds where maybe you had an emotionally unavailable parent, a parent who was withdrawn or didn't give their love unless it was conditional, a parent who had mental illness, who had substance abuse problems, who themselves had significant trauma growing up and just could not be present for their own children, or couldn't meet their children's needs because their own needs came first, or just were not available to their children. Maybe even your own intuition, needs, and desires were suppressed as a child. I had a client who grew up in a very, very conservative religious family. And so the whole children should be seen and not heard. Her needs and her desires and her wants were never allowed. So, you know, not necessarily trauma, but just that conditioning of like, it doesn't matter what you want. This is what we say. This is what God says. This is what you will do. So it's all about. And as a child, she grew up like not thinking she matters. She doesn't matter. And guess what? She was taken advantage of in so many ways, financially, emotionally, married very emotionally abusive husband. And luckily, she came to me during her divorce, and we were able to flip her mindset, give her some self worth exercises in our Finding Peace Again program, and help her to fill that void of you are good enough, you do matter. So a lot of people pleasers don't have good boundaries. They don't have firm boundaries. And the truth is, this is if you take nothing else away, stop listening to people tell you set boundaries, set boundaries, set boundaries, because that won't work. You won't follow through with the boundaries until you do the fundamental work of self-worth and self-esteem, because you won't follow through with those boundaries. Because the truth is, you really don't believe that you're worthy of boundaries and that your needs matter. And until you flip that mindset, you can have all the boundaries that you want in the world, but they won't do you any good because you won't follow through on them. But you have to do the work on yourself first before you start setting those boundaries, or while you're setting those boundaries, starting with some small boundaries and then building up. And the thing is, your parasympathetic nervous system is so out of whack because you felt so unsafe and so like insecure and unstable as a child. You do second guess yourself. You can't trust yourself. You don't know how. You were never given the tools. You were never told how to tune into your intuition or to listen to yourself. In fact, many people are told, don't listen to yourself. Do as I say, not as you feel, right? Even though really our body knows everything if we just learn how to tune into that. So, a big tool in my Finding Peace program is giving you the tools and the the skill sets that you need to soothe that sympathetic nervous system so that you feel safe and secure, no anxiety, so that you can trust yourself, feel good again. So maybe you're triggered by the ex. This is the big one. This is the big one, man, right? I know you feel your ex has all the power and they play all these games. But here's the truth, like, this is an opportunity for growth. When you blame others, you're giving up your power to grow. If you look at that ex as an opportunity for growth and an opportunity to be better, become a better version of yourself, I say this, I could not have the co-parenting relationship that I have with my ex if I hadn't done the inner work and known what my own filters are and known what my own wounds are. and let go of all the filters that I'm seeing the world through. So their behavior, and maybe you do have a high conflict ex, and their behavior is exposing a wound in you that needs to be healed. Because I tell you, if someone walked up to me and said, Terry, you're a purple people eater, I'd look at them like, okay, that's a little strange. Thanks for that. And then move on, wouldn't even think anything of it all that it. Why? Because that doesn't resonate with me. I don't believe that about myself. I don't carry that around. But if someone said, Terry, you're like a really shitty mom. Now, if there was like a part of me that really felt like I was failing my children or I was not the best mom or doing the best that I could, that wound would really hurt. I would take that in and I would ruminate on it and I'd be anxious about it and I'd be angry about it. Right. But I don't like someone say, oh, you're a shitty mom. I would, just shrug my shoulders and go, okay, that's your opinion, but okay. It would not keep me in emotional prison zone. And that's the thing, your ex knows your buttons. They know which buttons to push. They know where you're most insecure, what your biggest insecurities are. And they go, pew, pew, pew. So they know how to push those buttons, right? I've had it. I've had clients that said that, where their ex like makes issues about their parenting style or their parenting things because their own childhood was difficult. And so they're navigating parenting, trying to unlearn what they learned as a child and be the best present parent that they can. So they've got to, let that go. And here's the thing, as long as you're walking around with these wounds and these self doubts and these core beliefs about yourself that you believe I'm not good enough, I'm really ugly, I'm really not worthy, whatever that belief is, um, you're every time someone brings that up or kind of even dances around that, it's going to trigger something about you. And here's the thing, until you heal that inner wound and those insecurities that you're carrying around, you're going to continue to repeat toxic relationships that cause you to minimize the red flags, because that's the thing. Manipulative people are very good at finding out how to what your buttons are to push in a good way and give you, stroke that ego and make you feel good. And then you are like, wow, like with me with the words of affirmation, this person gives me a lot of words of affirmation. It makes me feel really good about it. They know all the right things to say, right? And I'm minimizing the red flags of like, okay, but he can't hold down a job, but he's a really great guy, all those things, right? So you're minimizing the red flags because the underlying wound is being massaged by that manipulative person. You are more susceptible to toxic relationships, and you keep doing those toxic relationships. And the more you're in them, the more damage it does. I mean this physically. I've seen people come to me with underlying health issues, with emotional damage, and even financial damage because you feel unworthy. And so once you heal that and you know who you are and you love yourself and you accept yourself, no one can trigger you anymore. You are not an emotional prisoner to anyone else. And the truth is, really, you're an emotional prisoner to yourself if you think about it. And the ex is just shining a spotlight on that. They just know how to shine and where to shine that spotlight on it. So, again, why you're triggered is because you have to identify how that trigger goes back to that abandonment wound. And your relationship with your parents shapes your perception of love. Some of us don't even see the red flags because those red flags actually feel like home. For me, my chaos, that felt like home. A stable, healthy, just secure relationship made me feel anxious and made me more controlling because I didn't know how to thrive in stability and security and feeling content and a drama-free relationship. I didn't know what that felt like. So I was like, it made me uneasy. So I had to, you know, reframe my nervous system to feel at ease, to feel at peace. And that's what I've done. So once you identify the exact root of where that abandonment wound, and that's exactly what I do, and give you the healing tools, the inner child healing and reparenting tools to heal that exact wound. I mean, that's exactly what I do. Then you can take back control. Then you will no longer be triggered by your ex. You know, John was someone who came to me, and he had left his wife actually several times, but it was never permanent. And he knew that this was a toxic relationship. He had four beautiful children, and he was setting them up for failure because he was going back and forth. Like, she would literally leave him and go live with a man, and then when she got tired of that man, just come back to John and just like nothing, and he would accept her. And the thing was, when we identified the exact trigger, that the reason why this pattern was manifesting in his life was because as a child, his mother had was married to an alcoholic, and the father would go off on these benders. And when the father was gone, the mother would lavish him with attention, and they'd be chummy, and he'd get that attention from his mom. And when the father came back, they were back to walking on eggshells. They were back to that tension in the household all day long, and like, nobody make dad mad, right? And so this is the dysfunction that he grew up in, and he was repeating this pattern with his ex-wife. And once we healed that root of that from his childhood, then he left his ex-wife for good. And I'm glad to say he's got custody of his kids. He works full time. His job actually flourished during COVID. He had a business for himself. I mean, so him healing all of that also gave him the energy and the creativity and the productivity focus on his business, that took his business to a whole new level. So, I mean, it is amazing what you can do when you identify the exact abandonment wound. And there's going to be multiple of them. And once we address each of those, your life will change, and you have the tools and the skill sets to heal that and fill that void. You're no longer looking for a toxic person to give you that attention and give you that praise, or make you not feel invisible, and make you feel like you don't matter anymore. So here's the thing. I have set aside a complimentary strategy session just for you, so that I can help you identify your exact abandonment wound, so that you can stop feeling lonely and unworthy, and you can learn how to feel secure and confident in all of your relationships. Not only that, we're going to talk about the strategic plan you need to heal all of those wounds, and the four-part healing system that's going to help you to stop second guessing yourself, stop feeling lonely, stop feeling triggered, and you feel confident and secure and at peace, and so that you can have firm boundaries in all of your relationships, and you can take your life to a higher level. So I'm going to set this strategy link right here in the thing, and it'll be below. And I'll also attach it to the email as well that I'm going to send. So I'm going to stop sharing so that I can put the link here for you. Maybe I will. It's not letting me. Zoom is not letting me, but I'll put the link in here as well. And this is my digital calendar. And once we have identified exactly where your wound is and given you the strategic plan to heal it, like 6 months from now, your life will look completely different. You'll feel completely different. It'll be life changing. So I'm so looking forward to hearing from you, and I can't wait to talk to you. Okay. All right. Have a great week.